Hey guys, back again. So it's already done, and you can see we can say cd my view app. Okay, if you say directory, this is what we can see, and we minimize this. Okay, these are my videos. Okay, I was checking that everything was kind of right, and for some reason OBS is taking the colors off again. I think I configured that before, but well, Windows updated, so maybe that was the issue. But I'm just going to continue since that's just styling that is kind of looking off. Everything should look right. So let's just, okay, so this is my view app. Okay, so let me just move this. See, this is the other project on which we're going to work. So yeah, so this should actually work. Let me just check my stuff. Okay, so we already created the view app, and if we run, so let's say npm run serve, and we try to run that. Okay, you can see that this is starting. Should give it a minute, and let's just minimize this. And since I still have this open, let's just take a look at that. So we're going to build, let's open this one, of course, with code. It opens on my other. Okay, let's move that, and let's get that there. Okay, so you can see we have this public and this source with the assets on where we are going to place our images and everything. So the components, and we're going to create and change a few things inside the view and inside the components. Okay, you can see all this stuff. Something that I don't like about view is using this style scoped, and I just don't like that. Okay, so we're going to deal with this a little bit differently, I think. And the use of the script, well, is kind of weird coming from React and mainly Angular, but yeah, it's not a big deal, I guess. So let me just settle everything, and we are going to, sorry if I'm talking funny, it's kind of late, so I'm just want to get through all this. So let's go to source, and inside source we need to create a new folder. This one is going to be Firebase, and you can call it however you want, and we create a new file inside this, so it's going to be config.js. Okay, and inside this file we're just going to configure the class which is going to give us the option to create, delete, update, and all that inside Firebase. But for this, we will need to actually install Firebase, which I forgot last time. Okay, let's say npm install Firebase, and that should all be done. I always forget to install this. Okay, this should actually run the --save by default. So okay, so this is kind of still working, but actually we can just start implementing everything. So let me just grab what we're going to use. So inside this config, inside the Firebase directory, we're going to use, let me just make this bigger. Okay, we're going to use Firebase, and we're going to import everything from Firebase as Firebase, which I think it shouldn't be, because I am ready. Okay, let's just keep it like that. And I mean, we're going to import everything from Firebase as Firebase, and we're going to import the specific things that we're going to use, which is Firestore and the storage, everything from Firebase. We're going to create a new constant, which is config, and this constant is going to have all important things. Okay, so you can define an environment variable, for this, but we're just going to place all this here since this is not a important thing. Okay, so let's just paste that. So those are our settings, okay, which we got after creating the app. So you can even go here to I think it's configuration, yeah. So let's go to project configuration, which is this one, okay, and general, which is the first one. You can see the SDK, and you can see this is what we are using, and they tell us sorry, that we need to initialize the app. Okay, so we're going to do that inside, let's say, class Firebase. So this is a similar approach that we used inside. Okay, so this is done. Let's say npm run serve, and let's actually move this over there, and let's say localhost 8080. Let's wait for that to run, and let's see what we have. Okay, so this is the main screen that we can see when we create a new project inside Vue. So this is the latest Vue 3, but we're going to use the options API, not the composition API. Okay, composition API is going to come later. So we're going to create, so let's create a constructor. We're going to add the Firebase, which should be already done, yeah, Firebase that, and initialize app is already done. That's why we're getting the IntelliSense. This at Firebase, sorry, Firestore. We define this is going to be Firebase that Firestore. That is a function, a method, sorry, and this that storage equals Firebase that storage, also a method. Okay, so when we instantiate this class, creating a new instance using the new keyword, then the constructor is going to initialize the app, and it's going to set this to properties as the Firestore, the database, and the storage, which is going to allow us to upload the file. So I think we're going to deal with all this service right now and deal with the rest of the Vue.js things later. Okay, so just to get everything out of the way, and you should already know Firebase. If not, I have a simple course with HTML and Firebase that I think I explained there what most of the things is doing, how to call the database and all that. So you can check that, or you can check React with Firebase, which I still have in the channel, and also Angular with Firebase and using RxJS, which is something that you need to understand if you are planning to work inside Angular. So the first function, which is getAllPost, we should be able to say public since we are in a class, but okay, we only can add it inside a TS. Okay, that's fair enough, I think. So we're going to return the Firestore collection post inside a promise, which is going to be resolved in this get. Okay, and we're going to return that. So this is actually going to return all the posts. That's why it says get all posts. The next one is going to be the get current post using the post ID. So we're going to pass a post ID that we want to look for. Then we're just going to retrieve that document, that specific document, using the ID from the collection. So this is going to return just the current post that we want to see. The next one is going to be create post, which is going to allow us to add inside the collections posts. So you need to be aware of what you're setting here, okay, because this is not the same as post with capital, okay. So just be aware of that. And don't worry, we don't have any change in the database. So let me just show you. Database. Okay, we don't have anything here. It's going to be created automatically when we send the request of this create. Okay, so don't worry about that. Update post. It's going to say update post. We're going to pass a post ID and we're going to pass the data that is going to be set to update the post. So for that we require the doc post ID. Okay, and we use the set, which is going to set the data and merge it with all the data that we have currently in the post. So it's not going to overwrite anything. It's just going to find if we have the title only, which changed. It's only going to change the title. Okay, if you know what I mean. And this is going to be a little tricky, so let's just well, let's just keep that for later, and let me just get the delete. Again, if you kind of don't get what is going on here, then just Google it, maybe, I don't know, or check another tutorial that I have with Firebase, because this is going to be kind of fast. So we're going to say, get me the reference of the storage, okay? Then we're going to await for the collection that we are the doc, sorry, not the doc, the post inside the collection that we want to be done with the delete action. We're going to catch any problem, okay? And we're going to await again for the reference of the file, which is going to be stored inside Firebase, to be done with the delete action, okay, to be done deleted, and then catch anything if it happens. And we're just going to console image deleted and post deleted. Okay, so even though we should just move this one, okay, no, because we're not using, okay, so let me just move this one. So if you're not aware how Firebase works, then we have the file in a different set, in a different storage, okay? That the post is only going to contain the reference of that file inside Firebase, just the URL, okay? So that's why we need to first delete the post and then look for the reference of the image and delete the image, okay? So that is what is going on. So now, let me just take a look at the time. Okay, 13. So let's just build this one. Okay, so we already have the get all post, get current post, create post, update post, and the async delete post, because we need to wait for these two actions to be done. That's why we are using an async function. And we're going to create a new async because I want to do this by hand, sorry. So file upload file, and again I'm using Firebase, and I'm handling or creating this service right now because Firebase is different than Vue. Okay, so if you know Firebase, then you should know what everything here is doing. If not, you should get an idea of what I'm doing, and then just move to the specific Vue things, so you can later connect it with an API, I don't know, Node.js, then or whatever you want, Laravel or whatever, and you will understand what Laravel is doing, sorry, not Laravel, what Vuejs is doing and what the API is handling. So that's just it, so don't worry too much about that. We're going to try to cover everything. So constant storage ref is going to be equals to Firebase that storage. So we already have that. So we could actually use this sorry, we could actually use that storage, what the hell is going on? But we're just going to create a reference row like this, and we're going to use these two things in the templating, okay? In case we need those. So we are kind of not working with those right now. So yeah, constant storage and storage ref. I might make a mistake here. So this is the file which is going to pass, which is an actual file, and here we're going to say file.name. The file is going to have a name property, so we're going to use that to create the name of the file, which is going to be stored inside Firebase. Constant post cover equals storage child that put, so we need to say put file, and we're going to say await. Okay, so I think this is what I was doing before, so this should not work the way I thought about. Oh, but we can do that later. So okay, let me explain what is going to happen here. So await, we're going to create a new promise in order to handle the uploading action or process or whatever. So we are going to say post cover that on state changed, which is how the bytes are passing through Firebase. So we're going to get a snapshot of those. We're going to kind of take a picture of everything, and we're going to check how everything is going. So we're going to say let progress is going to be equal to, this is kind of tricky, so let me just, well, not kind of, but I don't want to make a mistake there. So this is the snapshots with the bytes transfer property, and we're going to use divide the snapshot total bytes, okay, multiply it by 100. So that is going to give us the specific bytes that are passing. So console.log, and sorry, it's going to give us the percentage, not the percentage on the transfer of the bytes. So we can say console.log math.trunc. So we're going to truncate this, remove the decimals, and say progress, and we're going to just console that out. Okay, so this one is there. So here we need to add a comma, and this is kind of tricky. So you can see we have this error, which is what we're going to use. So this one is like this, error. In case there's something that happens there, we are just going to console.log that error, and we add a comma here and say async. Okay, so I will need to fix this later in case you want to retrieve the bytes in the template, because this, as I remember, is not going to work. So constant download equals await storage child that get download URL. So after everything is done, we just download the file again, the URL of where everything is, the file is stored. So we actually need to use, so fetches a long-lived download URL for this object is going to be the URL that we are going to store inside the database. D equals download, this should be URL. Okay, console. Okay, we can say console log, but we should not need that. So this one is the D, and we're setting it here outside, so we can just change it and we can just access this from the outside. So we resolve the promise here, so we can move on and we can just return D. Okay, so as I remember, we will need to change all this functionality to be set sorry, inside the template, because at this point we cannot access this. We could access this using RxJS, setting unobservable, which is something that is pretty used in Angular. Okay, it's also available for React and Vue.js. So we could use that, setting this as an observable, and maybe just export that, or saying it as a property inside the constructor. So those are two options that we can use later, maybe. So yeah, so this is not something that we could use as it is, so that's why it's just going to console. So the important thing here is to return the progress outside of this service, okay? Well, or this class inside this config. So I will see how we can do that in the view way. We can just actually move this out as I did in React. So I will take a look at that and do it at the end of the full series, so we can see and we can update that, so the user can see the file upload progress actually inside the UI. Okay, so all this should be done. We already have all this. Okay, let me make this smaller, and what we need to do here is to say export default, not like that, but to type it correctly. If not, it's not going to work. New Firebase. So we're going to export the new instance of this class. Okay. So let me just take a quick look of what I'm doing here. Okay, the config is already done. The index.js is something that we will need to add, which is the route. Yeah, we will need to install that because I didn't add the routes using the CLI. Okay, but that gives us the option to understand what is going on and how to set them by hand in case we need to do it in another project. Okay, so I think that's it for now, guys, and see you in the next one.